Hello, welcome to Generation Next, Life and Politics with Chuck Hobbs. I'm joined today by Cedric Jones and Liz Ricci. Last week, the Oscars, Michelle Obama made a surprise appearance. I'm always happy to see Michelle Obama. I'm a big fan of the First Lady, big fan of the President, obviously, too. But like with most things these days, it seems as if her appearance caused some problems, particularly with some of our friends from the right. What was your thoughts when you first saw her? Or first of all, did you get a chance to see the Oscars? Did you see it happen, or did you read about it the next day?
I watched it online later.
Okay.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was funny.
Okay.
I could have done probably without the military guys in the background.
Okay.
Yeah, it made it like almost that regal quality, like it was a queen speaking instead of the first lady. I had no problem with her being on the program. I'm a big movie buff, so I would have preferred to see Jack continue on with his. Because he had his thing, he had his stick going, and he had to interrupt it a couple of times because he had to defer to the floaters. So, all in all, though, I thought it was a good program for her.
Understood, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I tried to watch the Oscars at length. I'm more of a Grammys person, to be honest with you, with the music. Absolutely. Yeah. And I stayed up just long enough to watch the tribute to James Bond because, like a lot of men, I'm a huge James Bond fan. I was a little bit disappointed in that. I was hoping that all of the living James Bonds perhaps would come out on stage and be able to be feted for 40 plus years, almost 50 years worth of being in the art. But long story short, after I saw that, I fell asleep. So the next morning when I woke up and saw the news feeds on Facebook and what have you, I see everybody, the First Lady came, and immediately people were just upset. And it makes me wonder whether some of the criticism that she takes is warranted. And some of the criticism the family takes. I know that I listen to Rush Limbaugh and those guys from time to time just to keep on my toes. And just to hear them when they're saying, oh, well, the president's out golfing with Tiger Woods, or she's got her posse and her entourage and she's flying all over the world and on taxpayer dollars. And I just don't ever remember any other first family being under that kind of scrutiny with respect to their private lives. What are y'all's thoughts?
Now, a part of it is the 24-hour news cycle, right? I mean, that's changed over the last 15, 16 years. Another part of it is race, I think. And another part of it is the cool factor. A lot of people are just not that cool, right? So can the president go out and play golf with Tiger Woods? Of course, he probably could go play with Phil Mickelson too and still have the same scrutiny. It's all of this, it's the first family and they're just abusing power and that kind of thing. I just think it's a coolness factor, news cycle, and maybe a couple of other things that go in with how to write is always depicting the family.
Absolutely. Yes.
I would agree with all of that. It's interesting because I think George Bush played golf with some prominent people and we didn't hear nearly as much about it. And it's the nature of the game. But they are not like any other first family, and they are going to have be scrutinized more than other families have been. But that 24-hour news cycle is certainly a huge factor in there.
And I think if the Kennedys had lived during this time, during this time period, and he was president, he would have gone through the same thing.
I think so, because when you think about some of his friends being Peter Lawford, and Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, the Rat Pack,
and Marilyn,
right, and of course Marilyn, and a whole lot of people, right? You'd imagine that he might have been impeached had they had the 24-hour news cycle back when he was in office. But again, if you think about the fact that social media has been around for the better part of a decade, and you remember that would also encompass George W. Bush's second term in office, I just don't remember him getting this type of heightened scrutiny.
He wasn't.
Right.
He didn't get scrutinized. But he did have a couple of times when they would talk about his vacations. What did we have? Months? How long was it?
Yeah, in Crawford, Texas, right?
He would always do that. I mean, that was always his thing. I mean, he always got criticized for not reading the newspaper. I mean, it was a few things from the liberal side. The liberal side, the news media is not as attack doggish, I guess.
Abusive?
Yeah, well, abusive as the conservative media is. And then maybe it's because
that's a good point.
And maybe it's because the liberal media, maybe they dominate more of the airwaves too. Maybe it's because of that, but we always hear conservative talk shows, conservative radio guys, they're always attacking anything left.
Absolutely, and I think you also see it with respect to the Clintons. I think the Clintons obviously were someone like the Kennedys, and that's one of the things that I'm concerned about. Should Hillary Clinton run in 2016, it's going to be all of the old skeletons dragged back out. I can imagine Monica Lewinsky and Whitewater and all the other things that caused problems during their tenure in office over those course of 8 years. I can imagine that you're going to hear all of that again.
Do you remember the Clintons actually asked the media to lay off their daughter because the talk shows
They were on it for a while.
were really making fun of Chelsea, and they actually said, please respect our family life and do not make fun of her.
And I think that maybe some of that is a generational change, because when you think about the fact that when Clinton won in 1992, he was what, the first baby boomer president?
I think so.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Right. And so you were dealing with a 40-something then, and he was considered hip and cool. We played the saxophone on Arsenio Hall's
Later
show.
on the talk show.
Right.
Talk show.
And now you have a president who hangs out with Jay-Z and Beyonce, and you know, you have rap artists making lyrics about them. And I believe that to an extent, there are some people in this country that are still a little bit uncomfortable with the generational shift that's happening. They don't want to see Jay-Z, you know, at the 40-40 club.
It's like Fuzzy Zeller when he made the comment about the chicken and the greens,
or whatever they eat
after Tiger won the first Masters.
Absolutely.
Won his first Masters.
Absolutely.
It's funny that you mentioned in this country, I don't know if you saw the reaction to Michelle Obama's appearance in Iran, but they superimposed sleeves on her because it was immodest for any woman, especially the first lady, to be seen with no sleeves. So they actually made a top to her dress that she didn't really have.
Yeah, and I think that, again, that doesn't really help the cause for a lot of people in this country who are already a little bit skeptical about the customs in the Middle East and what have you. That didn't do anything but fuel an entirely different story arc, so to speak, on conservative talk radio. So on one hand, they don't like Michelle Obama, but on the other hand, they don't like the jihadists and the Islamists putting sleeves on her either. So I really think to a great extent there's a lot of damned if you do, damned if you don't with this family. And I think that one of the things that I like the most about them is that it appears as if they let it really, to quote Jay-Z, they brush it off their shoulders. Right, exactly. And I think that's pretty much how it has to be. Going forward, do you think that we're going to continue to see this? Like, if, let's say Hillary Clinton doesn't run in 2016 and you get a Rubio or something like that, will you see a similar backlash with maybe Ricky Martin or Menudo, I don't know, coming up out of the woodwork?
No.
Okay, none of that?
I don't know, I think you'll see something, but not to the extent that
Not like that.
It's the first cool family, if you will, so whatever's next won't be to the same extent.
Right. Well, I tell you what, either way, we'll be here watching, whether it's, again, Cruz out of Texas or Marco Rubio or whoever, because I do believe we're going to have the first Latino. I hope it's not Cruz either. We'll have to talk about that another time. But again, I've enjoyed it, and we thank you all for joining us here on Generation Next, Life and Politics with Chuck Hobbs.